Good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing out there? This is Jason Leva with the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Boxed Lunch, and to kick off this wonderful Monday, I believe it is, we have a fabulous artist with us today, the one and only Bernardo Vallarino. Did I say that right?
We went over everything except my last name, right? It's Vallarino.
Vallarino, and obviously feel free to pop that cork and we'll celebrate your arrival whenever you're ready.
There you go. Yeah, it's gonna be a Colombian brunch, so there's no better brunch that some mimosas. So why not, right?
Congratulations and happy Monday to everyone.
Happy Monday. There you go. That's a good way to start a Monday.
Absolutely, indeed. I cannot think of a better way to start off a lunch on any day of the week than with a fabulous glass of champagne.
So if anybody's watching and want to join us, go for it. No judgment here. It's the judgment. Well, you can judge all the way. I just don't care.
Nice. Now, you're making a mimosa there, it looks like? Is that what's going on?
It's called an emerald mimosa. So it's got passion fruit juice, and it's got a little bit of blue curacao, so it turns a beautiful emerald green, which is,
my goodness gracious.
And it tastes very yummy. So it's something that my mom and I created not too long ago. Just being from Colombia, we wanted something very kind of Americanized-ish, so we came up with those, and they're really yummy. So.
It looks
Cheers.
Absolutely delicious. I might have to break my quarantine rule and maybe come over there and hang out by your kitchen window. So
there you go. They open up the little wine windows in Europe. I could just hand you one out, and no big deal.
I'm on my way.
Come on over.
All right, Bernardo, before we get started on our lunch menus, do you mind just taking a moment and introducing yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is you do.
Well, I'm going to keep it condensed. So my name is Bernardo Vallarino. I am a local sculptor, installation artist. My work deals with social commentary, social issues. I focus a lot on the interaction between one person to the next and the hypocrisy that exists between the things we say versus things we do. So that's what, in big, broad strokes, my art's about. And I called my art career my Batman career because I tend to teach, to talk about social issues, try to figure out a way to save the world. But then I also have a Bruce Wayne job, and that's I'm a real estate agent. Locally, I am the team leader for 2 different groups of real estate agents, and I deal with all that. So the art world, and obviously my the way that I make money for art, actually. So
nice. Well, we are so fortunate to have you here for the Boxed Lunch episode, and also one of your installations are currently showing at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. So I did have a chance to take a look at that, and just some incredible work there, and congratulations, and hats off to you on a extremely moving and relevant installation over at the galleries at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. So wonderful job on that.
Thank you. You're very kind. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really, really very moving and very inspirational to take note and hopefully take some action. So it was very nice to see some new work in there. And we're just very grateful to have you, and very grateful to have you take the time and visit with us today. So Bernardo, what is on your lunch menu today?
Well, like I said, I wanted to do something with a Colombian taste to it. So a Colombian brunch. We're normally, we have a big lunch, but today I'm doing kind of a breakfast. So we're doing arepas. We guys also know as gorditas or pupusas here in the States, depending on what part of Latin America you're at. So I'm gonna make some that are very sweet. They're yellow, and I'm gonna put a huge chunk of cheese in the center, make kind of like a grilled cheese sandwich, but kind of not. And then as a side, I'm doing something that we love in Colombia, which is hot chocolate. Mexicans and Central Americans and most Latin Americans have that. The only difference is that we Colombians put big chunks of cheese in it. So we put cheese in it, let it all melt, and then we just eat the cheese at the end, which is something completely odd for most of the world, but for us, we absolutely love it. So I wanted to showcase kind of a little bit of my heritage here with the box lunch.
Very nice, very nice. Now you sent me some pictures that I'm sure will go on to the comment sections here on the Facebook Live video. And I have to say, I feel so lazy in making all my lunches. You had all kinds of great ingredients in that, and you made those from scratch. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, the flour. Sometimes I make the flour kind of from scratch with some kind of arepas, and different kind of arepas. You can just buy basically flour and make them. And this was one of those where you can buy the flour pre-made, and then you just put them together. It's really easy, honestly. It's just water, butter, salt. One of the things I had in my kitchen, which makes them slightly more sweet, is I had a plantain that is to the point where it's a very, 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 very sweet, which when it's completely black and people think it's completely rotten. No. That is the time to eat them. So I chopped it up and put it also on the whole thing. So not only are they going to have that kind of really nice sweet corn taste, but also the sweetness of the plantain, and then the cheese should be good.
Wow, it looked absolutely delicious. So, so this is, I'm starting, I think this is the 29th episode, and I'm starting to run out of ideas. So I'm going to fall back to a good old faithful favorite of mine, and I'm doing chicken quesadillas today. But I just got to say that I think it's green hatch chili season because it's everywhere. And
really?
So I have some of these lovely hatch pepper tortillas from Central Market. And
oh, wow.
They are absolutely delicious. And so I'll be using those as the base for my quesadillas. And I had some last night, and I just cannot tell you, they are so good. Run out and get them right now.
No kidding.
And,
the only downside is I'm breaking my own kind of no carbs rule for a while. I've gained a little bit of weight during the first part of the quarantine, eating cake and all kinds of stuff that I shouldn't. So I haven't had much carbs lately, but today I'm breaking my, my no carb diet just for you guys.
If you can tell, I haven't had any, I'm out of mousse. Carbs are the least of my worries.
I gotta have a little bit of a routine, otherwise it just.
So I pace the floor so much it doesn't even matter. I can walk off 1,000 calories in an hour. So I'm just gonna keep running with this. Even Tom Thumb is into this, and this is like a hatch
chili bread,
cheese bread. So
wow.
I think I'm gonna aim for this on the next episode of Box Lunch.
Cheese ham. Done.
Even Tom Thumb's getting into it. So I'm going to go on a hatch chili run this week and see how things play out. So
there you go. Have a plan. I like that.
And I'm going to buy some mousse.
Part of the plan. I'm telling you. A lot of people tell me, it's like, Bernardo, how do you do real estate? How do you part of the nonprofits? How do you do your artwork and you still can do all the stuff? It's my schedule. I have a schedule. It's planned from beginning to end, and I just follow what my schedule says, and I can get everything done. So nice. I love a plan.
My plan is just to merely survive these days.
This helps.
I was going to say, yeah, I'm just waiting for my boss to text me and say, "Where's your drink?" And then I'll show it on camera. So Bernardo, you want to talk a little bit about what goes into your lunch menu and what you do to prepare?
Well, the arepas, they do have to be prepared in advance just for this. Otherwise, it will take another 20 minutes or so to get them to where, they're rounded. But because I have them frozen, I had them ready for today. So I had the arepas here. There you go. There you go. So I made some fairly good ones there. And then nice, fresh mozzarella cheese. You can barely see it. So there you go. And then, let me see real quick. I'm gonna get this out. Colombian hot chocolate, which is slightly different from, not that much different from the one you get from Fiesta, but from the Mexican kind. But ours comes like this. That's just chocolate bars, and it comes like this.
Nice.
Now the one, you can also make the same stuff using the abuelita stuff, right? So if you go, you can actually get this in Walmart, I believe. So, But nevertheless, so that's it. And to make the hot chocolate, it's pretty easy. Actually, I'm gonna get it started. I'm gonna just put some cup of water and just throw in the hot chocolate in there. And then when that's melted, I'll just add the milk.
Very nice. Looks pretty good. I can smell that delicious chocolate from here. So
you'll smell really good in here. Yeah, my husband will be here in a little bit, and he'll definitely have some of that. He loves that stuff.
Awesome. So my prep's pretty easy. I'm just going to throw some butter on the tortillas. I've got some refried beans and some shredded chicken that's got some pepper stuff in it as well. So I'll just put that on there, throw it in the skillet, and let it all melt together with a little bit of cheese. So while that's going on, I was curious if you wouldn't mind talking a little bit about how is your art or you personally reacting to or been affected by all of this COVID-19 going on?
It's an interesting question. To begin with, I didn't think I was going to make much artwork related to COVID-19 because my artwork's mainly about human interactivity and the violence that happens when we don't communicate, basically, right? Or the hypocrisy of the things we said versus the things we do, right? So I thought with everybody being in their homes, not going out, that was going to subside, or I wasn't going to have much to say. But obviously, things have not been like that, right? So we've had people's way of thinking that are counterproductive to human health. So that's something that was part of what I started kind of hitting the back of my mind about human interactivity and so forth. And then some other things that happen, socially with just racially, all the divisions that exist and the death of some of the individuals that kind of cause all this, issues that we had lately, right? And what else? And a few other things. So once that started happening, then I started paying more attention to those elements. And the thing with my work is that, it takes a while for me to make any artwork. The reason for that is because I put a lot of attention. I research about the topic. I research about the individuals. I'm very mindful about how I portray and create the artwork, just because what I'm saying, it's prominent to people's real lives, right? So I'm talking about whether it's asylum seekers or victims. I'm talking about people's real lives, and in some ways I'm responsible to kind of showcase that in a correct manner. So I normally don't create artwork out of the blue. But in this case, it's somewhat, I felt a little bit responsible that I should as an artist. So I started creating some pieces. And I have created some pieces. So in general, I think my artwork still is progressing. I haven't changed much of what I do. It's just, it's been a little bit more pushed into getting things out there. But that's about it. I'm also trying to help as much as I can any of the artists out there. Especially with Artes de la Rosa, trying to figure out how we can help other artists and things of that matter. So that's kind of how that COVID-ish has changed my, my approach to art, if any.
And what have you learned about yourself or even art in general during this trying time?
that people are just too eager to have a set path. I mean, one of the things that I really, I'm lucky enough is that I'm very careful about kind of expectations. It's good to have some expectations, but don't set them in stone, because you never know when life is going to put something in front of you, and then those expectations become something to mourn for. And I think nationally we're doing some of that. We are pushing back on what we hope normality is, and that's an expectation. So we mourn the way things were instead of kind of seeing what we have and kind of moving forward. So in some ways, I've noticed that in everything, not just the art, but a lot of things around us. So that's one of the things that I've kind of put a lot of mind, thought to lately with things, something that surprised me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there is a natural tendency to assume that things are going to happen very quickly. I know with the internet and online shopping and all of these instant gratification scenarios that have been with us over the last couple of, I'll say decades, things have moved so quickly that we just don't seem to be as patient for progress as we used to be. And so I know that a lot of people are just expecting this to have been over and done with months ago. And it's really interesting to see when communities and areas collide with what they're used to, as opposed to what is actually happening in the now. It's been a long time since we've had to wait. We get
and that's brought a lot of
every year, and now here we are with just a couple of months, and everybody's just so impatient about answers and clarity. It's really quite amazing.
And that stress I brought up the true colors of people's emotions and feelings and thoughts, and that rawness is creating as well some of the nastiness or the type of communication that exists currently. So, expect the unexpected and you'll be okay.
Yeah, I just cleared my schedule. I burned my planner out in the yard, and you just take it as it comes. So it's been
it's funny. I'm the opposite. I'm like, okay, my schedule is like, follow my schedule, and I tweak it obviously, but in general, that's just I love my schedule. It's my safety blanket of sorts.
Yes, absolutely. And it's funny you say that, because in the art world, things are so up in the air, at least when the next inspiration comes, when the next installation will be. And so it's nice to hear that there are some artists out there that prefer organization and schedules and things like that, because I think there's an assumption that most of the artists out in the area are these freewheeling and open ideas and things, to where structure is not something that we're very fond of. But like most people, it certainly helps to have a game plan and a little bit of an idea as to where not only your day, but where your art takes you as well. So
yeah, so like Mondays today, I'm normally in my office for art office, and I create a lot of emails, texts, all kinds of stuff regarding to my business as an artist. I do a lot of writing for shows and things like that. And Mondays and on Tuesdays, I'm all day long in my studio creating stuff. And then during the week, I answer my art emails, periodically, but that's kind of how I organize my days. And it sounds awful, but actually gives me a lot of freedom to create a lot of things. And when I have deadlines like a show or something coming up, then I can organize whatever I need to do into those days. And it frees me up, because I don't have to be worried about whether something's going to get finished or not, or whether, in my other life as a realtor, a client's going to get dropped because I'm paying too much attention to my art and so forth. So all of those things give me freedom. At night, I'm done with the day, and I know that I'm good, because next day's scheduled out. I don't have to worry about anything. So I absolutely love it. I know I'm the oddball in the art world, but but it does work. It works extremely well for me.
Nice, very nice. Well, I might have to try that. So feel free to text or email me any tips you have on how to create some structure in these crazy times. So
there's a book you should read. It's called The One Thing.
And well, by golly, we'll get a link on there, and I'll see if I can't pick that up after I go pick up my hair mousse today.
It's about real estate, but it applies through. My Gary Kelly.
Well, I am totally intrigued. I'm on board. I'll check it out. So, all right, how's your lunch coming there?
Good. So the arepas are starting to take some color, and the chocolate, it's nice and hot. One of the tricks for you to avoid your chocolate to overflow and make a mess is to put a wooden spoon in it. So I know since we're talking, I'm actually keeping an eye out on my hot chocolate back there. And I put the spoon on it just to make sure that we're not, expecting the unexpected kind of thing. We're seeing possible issues with the lunch, but no, everything's looking good so far.
Very nice. All right. Well, I've got my butter brewing here, and I just put the bottom layer of the quesadilla down there. I ran out of shredded cheese, so I'll give you a little peek. I've got the chicken and the refried beans right on there, and a little bit of butter in that pan, and then I'm just going to go for it and just throw 2 slices of cheese on there.
You see what these ones are looking like?
And just let mine simmer. So, all right.
There you go.
Off we go. Let me see that. Woo! Man, that looks absolutely delicious. I'm hoping those pictures are up to show some of that pre-prep you did, because that's just some delicious looking food there. And there's just something
arepas.
You make it with your own hands as opposed to pulling it out of a package.
It's called arepas. We're gonna make this something that everybody learns. And arepas from Colombia.
Nice, very nice. So Bernardo, while that's all heating up, do you mind talking a little bit about art as a window into society, and specifically your themes on violence and human suffering? I know that is a thread in your work.
Mm-hmm. We are afraid a lot of times to see the reality. I believe that we live in a world where we don't live a reality, we live as surreality. We have preconceptions, we have preconceived ideas, and even when the truth is in front of us, or the reality is in front of us, we ignore it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times those truths and those realities are extremely painful and very uncomfortable. And it's much easier to continue life without those uncomfortable thoughts, ideas, feelings, and so forth. So we don't. And in my artwork, I try to put those questions out there so that people can at least have a second or two conversations with themselves about their, about how they interact, how they are a part of whatever issue I'm discussing. So that's, art can definitely do that. Art is supposed to, in so many ways, at least from my perspective, it should open questions. It should not be answers. It should just be a continuous way of communication. I mean, it's when you're having a communication or an interaction between somebody else, you normally ask questions, and that's how conversation moves forward. So an artwork that asks questions in an open format, right? I think allows us to have communications and also see ourselves, but also the world around us. And good artwork, I think, does that. Good artwork continues to constantly to have open questions. And there's a lot of artists out there, especially the ones that I follow, like Doris Salcedo, Ai Weiwei, and Do Hosad. And if you listen to the conversations or the way they speak about the artwork, they're seeking the same thing, right? Creating artworks that get an open question so that you can yourself answer them or at least keep the conversation open.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really curious about your current exhibition, and it's called Untitled 70.1 Million. And it was really, really interesting. Now, my question to you is, your current work's on display now. Have you had an opportunity to reflect on it and its message, or see any parallels to the current environment? And I say that specifically with how violence has seemed to find its way into this pandemic. And we've seen some of that in terms of political ideas and agendas, race relations. And now we're looking at this whole question about possible displacement through unemployment and some of the challenges that are coming. So when I saw it, obviously it was in this particular situation. And I was really taken aback and surprised by the parallels that I found as a viewer. And I'm curious if you've had any of that revelation or epiphany in terms of what you made. And I think it was 2018 is when this one was made. And now here we are dealing with a lot of, in my mind, some parallels in terms of displacement, violence, and issues that are coming up.
So I've been researching and confronting this kind of issues for a long time. I'm a migrant myself. The body of work that installation comes from is a 5-year window of research, right? Of discussing and talking and being part of the asylum community and the refugee community and listening to them, right? So at the end, towards the end of, let's say, that body of work, one of the things that I wanted to do was to kind of look at the numbers. And the reason why I'm giving you all this back information is because one of the things I wanted to do with the body of work of Simpatía Sin Compasión, which is that 5-year project, is to hopefully bring about this duality about the group versus the individual. So if you have a bunch of the same thing, right, the individual loses power and there's just kind of this conglomeration, right? So when you talk about asylum seekers, for example, in 2008, and you say 70.8 or 70.1 million people, that's a number. And there's this one concept. So there's no humanity in the one, right? So in the body of work of Simpatía Sin Compasión, I wanted to bring back to kind of each one of those people that we talk about are an individual with a story, right? And not only that, how many stories are out there? And that's kind of where that installation comes from, is the, every single one of those printed SOSs, which are literally this big,
yes,
right? And you have thousands and thousands and thousands of pages that are printed. It gives you an idea of the magnitude of the situation and how many stories, how many individuals. And these are just the ones counted, right? These are not the ones that are not non-counted. These are just dealing with people who were displaced by violence in 2018. So to bring it back to what you're talking about right now, it's exactly the same problem. We talk about things in a grouping,
yep,
right? Without the concept of the individual or the story. So one of the things I keep telling people when we're talking about the racial issues that we're having right now is, have you taken the time to listen? Have you stopped and listened, right? Because we have a preconceived idea of what something is, once again, from a grouping, from a large idea, but it's the individual and you have to listen to. So how many African-American, Latin African-American, all of those people have you listened to, and then compile yourself your own ideas, right? By listening to their stories. So, one of the things that I have to admit, in the past, I was one of those people who thought, racism, not racism, but slavery and racism was something that was basically already, in the past, that there was something that I understand what the problem was. But then I started listening and I realized, hold on a second, if 9 out of 10 are saying that there's a problem, who am I to judge to say there's not a problem?
Sure.
Right? So it's all about listening. And then, like I said, so it's about the individual, the one person. And then those numbers, those large kind of groupings, they start breaking down, and they start looking differently, right? So in the show, as you notice, I have also the pieces you have to look in the magnifying glass, and I wanted people to be forced to look at people's expressions on their faces. That's why I have their faces covered. So I want people to see the fear, the pain, the anger, all of those things, because then it creates a humanistic element. So when you turn around and you look at the mass number of SOSs on the wall, hopefully you're creating some kind of relationship or correlation between emotions and feelings of one group of those people and applying it to the masses. And therefore there'll be much more of a connection of humanity, sympathetic connection, empathetic connection, a connection that we're all human, we have feelings and so forth and so on.
Yeah, it's just extremely impactful. And, you know, one of the things that really hit home with me was not only all of those SOSs on the wall, but looking in the containers that housed even more. And it really just said a lot to me about the voices that aren't being seen and aren't being heard, and knowing that those are there as well. And so it was just extremely impactful. And again, I do think that there are some parallels just in the unheard voices of people that are struggling right now and aren't able to be seen or be heard out there right now. So,
right, you just gotta listen to them. You gotta be open-minded to listening, and it has to be from both sides.
Yes,
you have to be an open listener from both ends in order for you to be able to get to that neutrality, that central point. And sometimes it's hard to listen. There's a lot of things we want to hear, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
We live in a surreal world. We don't like the real world because the real world is nasty. It's full of hypocrisy, it's full of bias, it's full of backstabbings and things like that that are just not nice. So we all like to just kind of put a smile face, think that everything's fine and move on with our lives. And, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got to open up and be willing to take in some information that we may not necessarily know about or even agree with. So
right.
On those same lines, do you mind talking a little bit about art's healing power to the artist and to the audience? How do you feel about that? Do you think it has validity, or are we just putting stuff up there for people to consume?
You have to know first that you're sick before you can actually get help.
Great point. Great point.
So, you know, and then the other thing is, you want to consume the artwork because you just want something to massage your eyes, right? Or do you want something that's really going to make you look at the world different? Or, you know, it's the choice that a person makes regarding the artwork and the artist themselves, you know? So I can talk generalistic that yes, art can fix it, you know, people or emotions or whatever, but at the end it's a personal thing, as much as it is with religion and with other things. It's just a personal thing. So you have to make the choice of allowing artwork to change your perspective. Or when you're making artwork, how legitimate are you with the artwork that you're creating so they can create true change in your life, right? So, you know, as much I believe in the power of art to create change. Otherwise, I wouldn't be making what I make. But at the end, like I said, I'm realistic enough that somebody has to come to look at my artwork and be open to be vulnerable to question themselves and their own theologies, philosophies about the world around them. If they don't, then the only thing they're going to see is a whole bunch of paper with little dots in it, which seems to be like a waste of paper and another waste of ink. and you know what? So be it. But I, you know, once again, it just comes to the individual. It comes down to yourself and how you want to allow it to heal you or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I find that so interesting. How have your current works shifted or brought you inspiration or direction for future projects?
Well, my body of work and the way that I make artwork hasn't changed in 20 years. And nothing that's happened lately has completely shifted my art making, my process. You have to understand that most of my artwork sit in my sketchbook for 3 years before I start kind of letting them become something. They have to be well grounded, well researched before so right now, even though I'm making artworks regarding the contemporary time, sometimes I wonder that if it's too soon for me to be discussing these issues right now, because I haven't given them the time for me to process that information in such a manner that it deserves a piece of artwork. So that'd be the only thing. But generally speaking, no, I've continued to look into my sketchbook, continue to put things in my sketchbook and research onto what the next thing is. And so no, not much change in that at all. The only changes that I've had to do is, helping Arte de la Rosa with doing things right now, because we need to showcase artwork for, help artists and things like that. But when it comes to my personal approach to art or art making, no. Yeah. I mean, for some people, it could have been that they all of a sudden feel inspired to create something that's related to the social issues right now. But I believe I need to have, I believe in like creating, if you're going to create artwork that is socially minded, you should always be doing that. Because to me, a lot of times is like the person that only gives money at Christmas or goes out and feeds the hungry and Thanksgiving, and the rest of the year they don't do anything, just because it is their thing to do at that moment, and they do it, and then all of a sudden they move on to the next thing. I couldn't do that, right? So anyways, I'm gonna stop there.
And I'm always hesitant to bring things up because I never know if I'm like spilling the beans or if it's like breaking news or so it's very interesting to me. I had the privilege of seeing some of your flag works, and I know I'm probably not titling that right. So it's very interesting because you talk about how you plan these things, and the initial reception from my mind when I saw those were, oh my God, how relevant, how like current. And so do you mind talking a little bit about that particular piece of work and where some of that inspiration came from?
No, so with the kind of responsibility, because as an artist we have responsibility to kind of discuss what's going on right now. And like I mentioned earlier, I normally like to have artworks that have been sitting on my sketchbook for a while, so I needed to have kind of merge both things, merge what needed to be said right now, as well as with the works I've done in the past, so that they would be kind of congruent. And then that's how the flags come back. So I did some flags for Simpatia Sin Compasión, and I did some things related to that. And one of the things that I had put in my sketchbook at the beginning of COVID was the response to this idea of the elderly being somewhat their lives not being as important as the economy, right? So and because my work deals with hypocrisy, I was thinking, how can it be, we talk about preciousness of life, we're Christians, so forth and so on, but yet our elderly, which in Latin America and other many countries we learn from them, so how can we throw that away, right? So that I put that in my sketchbook, that hypocrisy, that moment. I was like, okay, so this is something that I could make artwork with, right? And then right after that, then we had this whole concept, which I'm still flabbergasted, kind of in a similar kind of thought of the preciousness of life, and then having people protesting for just wearing masks, and these people had guns in their hands, right, and militaristic style, and kind of standing up, this kind of macho BS, you know, kind of stuff. And I thought, this is kind of odd. I mean, once again, we're Christians. Where is the heroism on this, right? I mean, you have the whole idea of hero kind of the wrong way. So that's something else that went in my sketchbook. And I, you know, I was thinking, well, how can we kind of merge those things together? Continue thinking about it. And then the death of George Floyd happened. And not only that one, I'm just trying to remember the name of the guy that got shot. I forgot his name. He was running, and this group of white guys came out and shot him. And those things right there just kind of said, okay, all of this is somewhat related. And that's how I created those flags. And the flags are, I call them tributes. So one's a tribute to grandma, right? So we got these dollar bills, they're $100 bills, $20 bills, and so forth. And it's a flag, it's an American flag. And the tribute to grandma has just basically that, and it's got crochet on it. The other one is a flag that also has dollar bills, because at the end, everything's about money. And it's got a camouflage. And then the last one it's completely white. It's made from, in some ways, what a KKK type of clothing would be like, completely white. And all of them in the stars, instead of the stars, they have some of the symbolic elements that I've used in my artwork previously. So I have butterflies, which is a symbol of transition between life and death, not after death, but between life and death, when the brain or mind allows the body to release, the kind of moment of peace that you're going to die and you're okay with that. So a very short period of time. So that's why I use the butterflies for the grandparents or the grandmas. And then I use the ants for the military, for obvious reasons, and other reasons that if you follow my work, you know why. And then lastly, I use something slightly new, which is wasps or hornets, because the hornets were actually in the news too. So I thought, you know what, this is very specific. And I love the fact that you know the word wasp, it's an acronym and has a specific meaning. And then I put the swastikas in there just to really you know, push that idea. And I know some people didn't like it, but it's like, it's got to be said, you know, it's got to be said. And I did. So that's what the three flags are about. Now, there's other body of works that are a little more, I don't know, sexually charged, that I can discuss, that are not public, and eventually they'll be part of a show that actually I was starting to work with or on. I mean, not too long ago, but of course we're having to change things. But those elements will be part also of the new body work. But
nice.
That's what the flags are about.
Yeah, there's some great stuff out there. Now, are the flags on display right now in any installation or gallery?
We have I have two of them at Road 2 in Dallas, currently in display. The one with the swastikas is really hard to show. Nobody wants to have that one in there. But you know, you make the artwork. I don't make the artwork I'd love to show it, don't get me wrong, but you just make the artwork because you have to make the artwork, kind of thing.
Sure. Very powerful. They are very, very powerful.
This is what I'm working on right now. This we're cooking.
Beautiful. Breaking news right here, folks.
Right now, right? So this every year, Road 2 has the cows show, and this year they're doing virtually, and I'm creating 3 of those pieces for that, and yeah, there you go.
Absolutely on point. Well done.
Thank you. You'll have one of my little figurines inside as well. I normally have miniatures. They're about the size of insects inside. So,
wow, good stuff. You know, again, you say you plot and plan these things. It seems pretty relevant to me in the now. So
that you know, it's a funny thing is that when I'm creating artworks, I go back into my sketchbook, and a lot of the answers end up being 2 or 3 years back. You know, it's like the idea was already there, and then you just have to plug in what's going on right now, because it's relevant, but at the same time it's timeless. So I can use, like you were talking about, I can use the SOSs, and yes, they're about 2018, but that same thing's happened, for years and years and years, and even contemporarily, you can apply it to the social issues we're having. And then with the Goya piece, yes, we're talking about Goya specifically, but then what really, in a much larger context, I'm talking about, putting your mouth where your money is, type of thing. Putting your money where your mouth is. I mean, it's like, where are you using your money, and all the elements that come with that, right? So yes, it is specific, but it is hopefully much more timeless than just right now.
Absolutely. There's just really some great stuff. So, all right, I see you. It looked like you pulled your skillet off of there. Are you ready to move on to plating?
Yeah. Well, I put the cheese in here, and unfortunately, I have to take the chocolate off the stove and not show you this because it's always messy. So I'm going to pull it over here real quick.
I'm so enamored with the cheese in the cup. Does it have to be that kind of chocolate? I may just throw a chunk of cheese in my Nestle's hot cocoa.
You should. I mean, I've done it before with that, just when I have a craving and I don't want to do everything I just did. Yeah, I do that same thing. So, yep. There we go. I got it.
Wow. Dude, you made that look so easy.
There you go.
Very nice. That looks absolutely gorgeous. Mine are never as pretty. I once again have my fine china out today, and then I just threw a little bit of the Valentino on there and got mine ready and primed to go there. So
this is what you want right there.
Ooh,
that's exactly what you want.
Looks absolutely delicious. All right, I got a couple of more questions for you real quick.
Go for it.
Talk a little bit about what helpful community resources are you seeing or using, or how can your organization be assisted or provide assistance to other artists or organizations?
Communication is key. I think we're doing a really good job in Fort Worth to help each other out. And I think it's a matter of keeping an eye out for everybody. So if you see something that somebody's doing and somebody else needs it, make the connection. So I think that most of the institutions are doing an amazing job of putting things out there that are benefiting for the arts, to the arts world. So that's what I would say. In regards to Artes de la Rosa, I mean, I think that we are a kind of a redheaded stepchild in Fort Worth. I'm trying to make sure that it's taken as seriously as some of the other institutions in Fort Worth. So anything that anybody can do to pay attention to what we're doing, the artists that we are sponsoring and we're showing artwork and so forth, and to participate as little as much as you can with Artes de la Rosa, that'd be great. Right now, we all are tight with budgets. So anything that anybody can do to help us raise, we're doing this stipend for the Dia de los Muertos, which is $1,000 that we give to one specific artist. So if the community in general can help us with raising $1,000, it'd be great. So it's as simple as 10 people, $100 would be great, right? So it's not a huge amount of money, but that would help us with helping one artist and to bring in some more life to Artes de la Rosa during this time.
Awesome. There's some great information there. Hopefully we can get a link in on that and direct some people to lend a hand and support local art and artists. So, right. And here's the most important question of the day. Sure. How and where do we keep up with you, find out about you, and follow you around to keep up with your amazing work?
Well, you can always find me on Facebook and Instagram. So it's Bernardo Vallarino Art. If it's got my mother's last name, that's my personal page. So if you just type my name, Bernardo Vallarino in art, then you should find it very easily. I'm the only one in the States, so that's easy. On regards to shows, I got shows periodically throughout the year. I'm the coordinator for the Fort Worth Art Collective, so my work gets shown there as well. And Fort Worth Arts is the gallery that represents me. So you can also go to Fort Worth Arts and check things out there. So you can find me easily. You know, if you need to get a hold of me, just send me a message and I'll be happy to help.
Nice. Great information. Great
Sure.
stuff. And again, come see his current work at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. It really is something to behold, and I encourage everybody out there to come check it out. So it's some wonderful stuff. All right, Bernardo, any final words of wisdom for our audience members out there?
Keep making art.
Good enough. Short and to the point. I love it. All right, my friend, this is where we sign off. So thank you so much for joining us, Bernardo. It's just been a pleasure to visit with you. I wish you all the best. Keep up the great work. And who knows, maybe I'll bump into you at the...
Let me show you the chocolate real quick. Hold on, I'll show you something. Let's see if I can show you this. I see the chocolate, there you go. It's starting to melt.
Oh, wow.
And now with that, we can go.
Very nice. Very nice. My cheese looks nothing like that at all. So what a wonderful way to cap the interview. I'm telling you, I'm coming over for champagne and hot chocolate just as soon as I can get there.
Hey, mi casa es tu casa.
All right, folks, that wraps up another edition of Box Lunch. We'll be back on Friday. Stay safe out there. Be kind to yourself and to others. All right. Have a wonderful day out there, everybody. Bon appetit. Thank you again.
Bye, ciao. Be safe.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Good.